Folks, if you've experienced similar situations or know someone around you who has, write them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and share to support us for more of these stories. Have you ever wondered if souls leave the body when people die? A military photographer's camera answered this question in the most terrifying way. Staff Sergeant David Chen, 29 years old, was a second-generation Chinese-American military photographer from San Francisco. He served in the U.S. Army Combat Documentation Unit, capturing critical moments in battlefields. In his 8-year career, he had documented countless combat operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. David's equipment wasn't standard. His grandfather had left him a Nikon F camera from World War II. This antique camera was a special tool he used in addition to his modern digital equipment. It was the same camera his grandfather had used to photograph Japanese kamikaze attacks in the Pacific Theater. In March 2020, David was deployed to FOB Shank in Afghanistan as part of Operation Freedom's Sentinel. His mission? Document the heroic efforts of American forces against Taliban operations. For propaganda and historical record purposes, FOB Shank was in a strategic location in Logar Province. It was an area with heavy Taliban activity, where frequent attacks and casualties were common. David's job description was technically non-combat, but the reality was very different. He was working on the front lines, taking photos under direct fire. The first 2 months passed normally. David captured excellent photos, combat operations, daily life, soldier portraits, professional work, award-worthy documentation. But on May 15, 2020, everything changed. That day, an IED attack occurred during a routine patrol. The convoy's lead vehicle was hit in a massive explosion. 4 soldiers were critically wounded, 1 KIA, killed in action. David immediately rushed to the scene for documentation. In the chaos, David began taking photos. Wounded soldiers, medics working, helicopter evacuation, standard combat photography. But when photographing wounded soldier Corporal Martinez, something strange happened. When David looked through the viewfinder, he saw a translucent figure above Martinez's body, as if Martinez's ghost was slowly rising from his physical form. David was shocked, but took the shot. Hallucination, he thought. Combat stress, adrenaline rush. But when he developed the photos that evening, he was shocked. The digital photos were normal. But in the film from his grandfather's Nikon, Martinez's spirit was clearly visible, a transparent figure separating from the physical body. David couldn't believe it. The film was probably double exposed, a technical error. But Martinez died from his injuries that night. It matched exactly with the moment of the spirit's departure. He rationalized it as coincidence, but seeds of doubt were planted. In the following weeks, David began observing more carefully. He specifically focused when photographing critically wounded soldiers, and he discovered a pattern. The same thing happened every time. In dying moments, translucent figures were visible through the Nikon viewfinder, but only through the antique camera, nothing on modern equipment. David began systematic documentation. He used both cameras in every casualty situation. The results were consistent. Digital normal, film supernatural. On May 22nd, a devastating Taliban attack occurred. A coordinated assault on FOB Shank, multiple casualties. David was in the middle of the action, documenting courage and sacrifice. Young soldier Private Johnson, defending a machine gun position, took a direct RPG hit. Clearly, fatal wounds. David rushed over, both cameras ready. Through the Nikon viewfinder, he saw something extraordinary. Johnson's spirit, slowly lifting from his body. But this time, it was different. The spirit looked directly at David, made eye contact. Johnson's ghost's lips moved. David couldn't hear over the battle noise, but the lip reading was clear. "Tell my mom I love her." David took the shot. Johnson died seconds later. That evening, during film development, Johnson's spirit was perfectly captured. Evidence for the message. David realized for the first time these spirits were conscious, communicating. A moral dilemma began. How should he use this supernatural ability? Should he deliver final messages to families? Should he report to the military? David decided to keep it secret, but continued interacting with spirits. In the next casualty situation, Sergeant Williams was mortally wounded in an IED blast. Through the Nikon, his spirit was visible rising. David made eye contact. Williams' spirit gestured toward his pocket. David understood. Personal effects, family photos. Williams wanted family mementos preserved. David retrieved the items before the body bag. Williams' spirit nodded approval, then faded away. A pattern was established. Dying soldiers' spirits were communicating with David. Final wishes, messages to loved ones, unfinished business. The camera became a bridge between life and death. But the supernatural ability came with a price. David's psychological burden was growing, seeing souls depart, carrying final messages, witnessing the transition from life to death. The weight was overwhelming. June 3rd, a massive Taliban offensive. Fob Shank was under siege, heavy casualties. David was documenting the heroic defense, but this time was a different experience. Multiple soldiers were dying simultaneously. Through the Nikon viewfinder, dozens of spirits were visible, all looking at David, all trying to communicate. A cacophony of final messages, desperate attempts to contact the living. David was overwhelmed. Too many spirits, too many messages. The camera was shaking in his hands, unable to focus, a psychological breaking point. In the middle of the battle, David heard a voice. Not from a living soldier, from the spirit realm. "David, help us?" He turned around. A ghostly figure was standing behind him. Corporal Martinez, the first spirit he'd photographed months ago. "Martinez, you were dead." "We don't cross over, David. We stay here, waiting. Need your help." "What do you want?" "Deliver our messages. Complete our unfinished business. Only then we find peace." David realized spirits couldn't move on without closure. His camera was documenting their departure, but they were stuck between worlds. "How many of you are there?" Martinez gestured around. Dozens of translucent figures, all fallen soldiers from various battles. A spiritual battlefield surrounding the living one, all who died with regrets, unfinished business, unsaid words. "We wait for someone like you." "Someone like me? One who can see both worlds, bridge between life and death." David accepted the mission. He began individual communication with each spirit. Final messages recorded, personal effects preserved, family contact information gathered. The psychological toll was enormous. David was carrying the grief of dozens of families, the weight of unfulfilled promises, the burden of supernatural responsibility. Military psychiatrist Dr. Sarah Kim noticed David's behavioral changes. "Sergeant Chen, you're experiencing combat stress. Recommend immediate evaluation." "Doc, I'm fine. Just need to complete my current project." "What project?" David couldn't explain the supernatural photography mission. "Documentation archive. Historical record." Dr. Kim prescribed anxiety medication, ordered reduced field exposure. But David continued his secret work. If using military resources, David contacted fallen soldiers' families. He delivered final messages, returned personal effects, provided closure. With each successful message delivery, the corresponding spirit disappeared. Found peace, moved on, but new casualties meant new spirits, an endless cycle. August 15th, David's deployment was ending. Final week in Afghanistan, but dozens of spirits still needed help. Last major operation, Taliban stronghold assault, high casualty expectations. David was determined to help every spirit find peace. The battle was intense, heavy losses on both sides. David was documenting heroism while simultaneously communicating with departing spirits. Young Lieutenant Thompson, dying from a sniper wound. His spirit emerged, looked at David. "My fiancée. Tell her I kept my promise. Ring in my footlocker." David nodded. Thompson's spirit smiled, faded to light. Private Williams, killed by mortar. His spirit gestured toward a dead Taliban fighter nearby. "That boy. He's someone's son, too. All soldiers have families." David realized enemy spirits were also visible. Taliban fighters, Iraqi insurgents, Syrian militants, all seeking closure, all trapped between worlds. Universal truth. Death transcends nationality, religion, politics. All souls are equal in final moments. David began helping enemy spirits too, a controversial decision, but a spiritual obligation. Final day in Afghanistan. David processed his last film roll. Hundreds of spirit photographs, final messages documented. At the airport, an unexpected encounter. An elderly Afghan man approached. "You are the photographer who helps the dead." "How do you—" "My son appeared in a dream. Said an American soldier with a camera helped him find peace. Thank you." David realized his work created a ripple effect. Families worldwide were receiving supernatural closure. Returned to the United States. David transitioned to civilian life, but his supernatural ability continued. He could see departing spirits anywhere, hospitals, accidents, natural deaths. He became an unofficial spiritual messenger, helping souls find peace, delivering final communications. David opened a small photography studio, Chen Memorial Photography, capturing last moments. He specialized in hospital photography, final portraits for the terminally ill. Through the antique Nikon, he continued seeing spirits. Each photograph was potentially someone's final message. His grandfather's camera revealed its true purpose, not just documenting war, but bridging life and death, a tool for spiritual communication, a device for healing. David realized his grandfather also had the gift. Waudruan photos probably contained Japanese spirits, enemy soldiers seeking peace. A generational ability, passed through the camera, a sacred responsibility. Today, David continues his work, helping spirits find closure, bringing peace to grieving families. A living bridge between worlds. Supernatural photography, art, science, and spiritual calling combined. Every click of the shutter, a potential message from beyond